Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations.
Phase 2 of the Track and Signals project for the full Metro Blue Line begins June 29th and requires replacement bus service until August 19th. The Metro Green Line will also need replacement bus service at select stations for several dates of the Blue Line maintenance period. Sign up for rider alerts and learn about replacement bus station locations and dates at metrotransit.org/track-signals. Again, that's metrotransit.org/track-signals.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 56, and Thursday, sunshine with a high of 75. Farmer's Kitchen and Bar connects the local harvest directly to downtown Minneapolis. Locally focused with highlights like bison, wild rice meatballs, and creamy wild rice soup. Check them out on South 2nd Street right next to the Guthrie Theater, open Wednesday through Sunday. Visit farmerskitchenandbar.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy, to all my friends and relatives in four directions, you are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, you know, this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Minnesota Public Radio and Little Moments Count, and I just want to give you a little update here. Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. And we're going to have one of our good friends, Barb, come on here right now, and we're going to have a good talk on what's going on here. I know there's a new report. Barb, thanks so much for coming on. Barb, I just want to let everyone know, you know, you're the CEO of Indigenous Visioning and All Nations Rise, and always great to have you on the show. You're so full of information, and always piques my information too, Barb, because, you know, I got those grandchildren now that are 22 months old, and we're talking to them and playing with them and singing with them. Welcome, Barb.
Welcome, yes. Miigwech for having me on again. I'm always happy to be here. And it is important for those babies that us parents and grandparents and foster parents and caregivers are informed about brain development, because it helps children, like little moments count. Every little moment counts with those kiddos.
Absolutely. Hey, there's a new report, a national agenda for tribal early childhood development and practices and prioritizing tribal leadership in early childhood systems. Let's talk a little bit about that at first.
Sure, one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah.
So last June, about 50 tribal nations were represented, and we had about 60 people come together to talk about what's important, that tribal leaders know about early childhood. And so we came up with 8 buckets that we felt were really important. And so we were able to identify those 8 buckets and put context into it to help tribal leaders. We know that they are pulled in many different directions. There's new tribal leaders every few years. So
Yeah.
we created this document specifically for tribal leaders, all tribal leaders, to help advocate and help create and support high quality tribal early childhood systems in tribal communities, both on reservation land and in our urban tribal communities.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, we hear a lot about the importance of the first few years of life, and why are these first 3 years so critical for a child's brain development and future, really?
Well, the in the report, and like little moments count, um, we prioritize the 0 to 5 years in early childhood, although it can go up to age when the child turns 13. The 0 to 5 years, by 5 years old, 80% of their brain is already developed. So in those first 5 years, their brain are like little sponges, but they need connections. And the more you talk to your children, the more verbal, the more language, the more self-regulation skills, social emotional skills that'll be with them for the rest of their life. Those skills are so critical because it defines the rest of their life. So if they aren't ready for school by 5 and they arrive at kindergarten not ready, it's going to be hard for those kids to make that up. And so those first 5 years are so critical to not only the development, but the school readiness. And then also we have economists like Art Rolnick and Rob Greenwald who talk about the return on investment. So every dollar you put into early childhood systems, you're actually getting like a $13 to $17 return on investment in less incarcerations, less health issues, higher graduation, more productive citizens. I mean, it's just the data is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great we talk about this, and I see this too. Working with our young ones, it's like my granddaughter can count at 22 months in both Ho Chunk Spanish and English, and the boy is not that far behind. And it's amazing because whatever you were saying, put a dollar in, you get $17 back. And my experience has always been whatever you focus on is where you're going to get these great results. And that's why it's so great that this report came out, and how important that, even like you said, tribal leaders come and go, but we have a document to hand out to every new leader.
Mhm. And, you know, childcare is a really important part of the tribal early childhood systems. And childcare looks differently in a lot of different communities. It could be family, friend, and neighbor, your relative caregivers. It could be licensed in-home family childcare. It could be center-based. It could be before and after school. So it looks different, but it provides a really important service to the economic development of that community. So when there is enough childcare, you're going to be able to attract employees, because if you don't have childcare in your community, you're not going to have employers, because they won't come there or they won't stay there if there's not high quality childcare. And really, when you look at systems, early childhood systems, you should really look at prenatal on up. So, looking at your community's children, where are they going when parents are at work? So that's what the policymakers and early childhood programs should really come together to figure out and create that seamless system for their community, because they're the experts. That's their community.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love too, and we talk a lot about this too, how this report and your work really talk about the teachings and early on, because we've had a few generations lose us because of a lot of different reasons of colonization and boarding schools. And I just can't ever get away from talking about Indigenous boxes. So I love those. And maybe you can talk a little bit about those in the next segment. But so important for people to know who they are. And that's so great that that's part of your work and part of the Little Moments Count work too.
Yeah, we want to make sure that, parents are supported, kids are supported. And, how do you support that? You got to support them. You got to support your own self. And that self-awareness, wanting to know where you've been and to know where you're going. And we do that in early childhood. We go back and we look at our culture and our language. And that's why it's so important to have language and culture in your programming, because early childhood is the opportunity to bring back what boarding schools took away from us.
Absolutely. Hey, we're here with Barb Fabre and the CEO of Indigenous Visioning and All Nations Rides, and we're talking about Little Moments Count. We'll be back after this short break. Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovative Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible Indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis Air. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Maintaining our health, particularly our heart health, is very important to us as a family.
Your heart gives you time with family, time with community, time to pass down what matters. Protecting your heart helps keep those moments alive. A visit with a healthcare provider can be one step toward a healthier future. Learn more at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats. Your heart health is essential because your heart beats for generations.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are with our friend Barb Fabre, and she is the CEO of Indigenous Visionings and All Nations Rise, and our friend talking about early childhood. And, it really, really, really is exciting on the work that you're doing and have been doing all these years. And then also these things that are coming up, Barb. And it's something that we always really, really need to talk about and keep in the forefront because, the Native way is that, the next 7 generations, right? It looks like you're muted. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you're good. Yep, we're good.
So
we must have muted you. Sorry, Barb.
Yeah, no problem. Well, yeah, we really do need to think about the 7 generations. That's kind of what we Indigenous people do. And so, where do you want your child to be in the next 7 years? Do you want them to start school ready and, ready to learn and not ready to catch up, not having to catch up? And that's what those first 5 years in strong early childhood programs do, is they get their children ready. And I know I've said this a few times on this show, but those language differences are huge when it comes to kids starting school. There's research out there that shows, kids from middle income to high income families are arriving with a 30 to 40,000 word vocabulary, which is fabulous. They're ready to learn. But the research also showed that kids from low income, especially children of color, are arriving with 3 to 4,000 word vocabulary. Those kids are not arriving at school ready. And they're, you have to wonder, and the data does show that sometimes they never catch up. So that's when we're talking 7 generations. There you go.
Well, I like how the tribes need to take action on this. And there's a powerful quote from the report that says, tribal early childhood helps restore what was taken. And respond to that. That's an amazing, amazing statement. And the tribes out there really need to take ownership in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of great work happening out there in tribes, restoring the culture and the language. And so we're busy restoring it, unlike other cultures who are celebrating it and maintaining it. We're trying to reintroduce it, and and so early childhood does that. I know when, and then if we have a continuation from K-12 and then up to higher education and summer programs with language, those are steps that we're going to be able to take. And we, the group that came together, felt that this was early childhood was the opportunity for tribes to restore that. So if we start introducing language in our cultural teachings from infancy on up in our childcare and our Head Start, our early Head Start, our home visiting programs, FACE programs, if we are very intentional, we are going to make a difference. Like you said, your grandchildren know 3 languages. That's huge. But their little brains can do that. They can do that. So we are not putting added pressure on kids when we're introducing a second language, because their brains are wired for that. And if they don't get that, then those connections start pruning away. So that's why, little moments count. And our organization and this report was written because it's that important when we're talking about restoring the culture and the language, because we had generations where parents couldn't parent. We had generations where we couldn't be grandparents. I can't even imagine that. So there's a lot of historical trauma that's also being restored and healing in early childhood when we're reintroducing or introducing our culture and language to our kids. And then all of a sudden, that's the norm for them. It's not that's when we know what we're doing is working, is when kids are happy and proud and, and they're not ashamed. And they know their language and they know their clans. And so, we have the opportunity to do that in early childhood. And if we don't, we're missing a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. And I love, we always talk about this, but the report talks about this too, that how important parents, grandparents, elders, and community, help raising the child within the community, and how important that is. And, just to learn the respect thing. It's like, even my generation is like, you don't talk that way to an elder. There's things that we learn, in Ho Chunk, if we like something on somebody, we say, I like that for me, and you have to give it to them, unless of course it was a gift. And that's the one that
Yeah.
I was able to get out of.
Well, I can remember as a childhood, I remember, we were supposed to be seen but not heard. It was a sign of disrespect if you, came up and start blabbing away, to your grandparents or, people who are in your home. And so we have to live in those two worlds where we know the benefit of children being able to do that now for their brain and their development. And yet we still want to be respectful of our teachings. And so, working with our elders to make sure that we are being respectful as we design tribal early childhood systems and programming, that's how we're going to ensure that we are respecting our culture and language, even in these new years of wanting kids to talk and be seen and heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talk a lot about this too, because I'm a urban Indian, and there's a lot of challenges with the urban Native community. And I know here in Minneapolis, we have over 75,000 Native Americans living just in Minneapolis, and 111 different tribes, nations. And so there's a lot of challenges when it comes to language or supporting language, because there's so many different Native languages here. Talk about that a little bit, because that is a pretty big challenge when it comes to being in the urban community.
Yeah, our urban communities are really kind of, unfortunately on their own, as far as the culture and getting direct funding for tribal early childhood programs. So, and it's not because of the tribes don't want to serve the communities down in our urban settings, but it's the federal policies, and sometimes it's not even in statute. It's federal policy that prevents tribes from spending their federal dollars off 25 miles off their reservation boundaries, for example. And so any services that the tribes provide to their urban tribal communities is from their coffers. And so we know the impact of high quality tribal early childhood. While tribal leaders are supporting it in their own backyard, we also need to help them think about how we can help our urban communities with tribal early childhood systems. Because like you said, there's over 75,000 tribal members self-identify in the metro, but yet we could only count up to 5 Native American serving early childhood programs.
Mm.
So, you know, we've got a problem. And we need to figure this out, and soon.
Well, this report's been awesome. Where can people find this report? Is it online anywhere?
Yes. So I worked with Linda Smith and her amazing team, and she just started a new child care trust organization. So the website is www.childcaretrust.org. And you can find the full report along with all the handouts or the attachments that go with it. It's super interesting reading. I encourage everybody to go to the childcaretrust.org, pull up the Tribal Early Childhood, and you'll get access to the report that you could print off, along with some documents that show you really what the formula is for tribal set-aside, which there isn't a formula. It's more of an afterthought, and it's a very it's very lopsided, let's put it that way. So you can look at the chart for yourself and decipher it.
Barb, Big Peony Gigi, thank you so much for coming on. Really, it's always a pleasure. And again, Barb is CEO of Indigenous Visioning and All Nations Arise, and one of our all-time guests. So I really appreciate you coming on and speaking your truth and getting this information out.
Miigwech, and I'd love to come back and talk more about Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative that's going statewide here in Minnesota.
And you know what I want to talk about? Those
Indigibox.
Too. That's right. Yeah, we'll get you on. We'll get you on soon. Definitely. That's a great idea. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio. Up next, Arvina Martin and our political consultant will be right back. This is Native Roots Radio. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Heart health is more than just the physical well-being. It represents like a foundation of vitality, resilience, and the ability to live fully.
Your heart carries stories of resilience, love, and survival. Caring for your heart means honoring yourself and the generations before and after you. It means protecting your ability to gather, laugh, and be present. Learn more about your heart health at hennepincounty.gov/heart-beats, because your story matters and your heart beats for generations.
Phase 2 of the Track and Signals project for the full Metro Blue Line begins June 29th and requires replacement bus service until August 19th. The Metro Green Line will also need replacement bus service at select stations for several dates of the Blue Line maintenance period. Sign up for rider alerts and learn about replacement bus station locations and dates at metrotransit.org/track-signals. Again, that's metrotransit.org/track-signals.
Programming is supported in part by Health Partners. If you're age 65 plus and qualify for medical assistance, you may also qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. This all-in-one plan bundles Medicare, medical assistance, prescription drug coverage, and dental coverage into one simple $0 premium plan that also includes $0 medical copays. In addition to saving money, you can get lots of extra benefits and perks, like a dedicated care coordinator, up to $400 each year in rewards for preventative screenings, transportation, a fitness club membership, and more. This can help you live safely and healthy and independently. If you're a senior on a budget, transportation assistance can be huge. Plus, who couldn't use an extra $400 these days? Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Visit during free Thursday nights. Every week from 5 to 9 p.m., there's something new to explore. Enjoy date-friendly events like artist talks, performances, and exhibition openings, or explore art-making open library hours and exhibition tours. Settle into your weekend among community. Free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 56, and Thursday, sunshine with a high of 75. Farmer's Kitchen and Bar connects the local harvest directly to downtown Minneapolis. Locally focused with highlights like bison, wild rice meatballs, and creamy wild rice soup. Check them out on South 2nd Street right next to the Guthrie Theater, open Wednesday through Sunday. Visit farmerskitchenandbar.com.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot, and this is part of the show that we bring our friend Arvina Martin, our political consultant, on. A lot to talk about, Arvina. Great to have you on. Thank you so much. There's a couple things that I'd really like to touch base with, and of course, tomorrow's 150th anniversary of Greasy Grass, who people like to call Custer's Last Stand, and that's a really important thing, a battle that the U.S. Military lost to them, and they still have the flag too. And then also just what's going on, Arvina, with voting and how important the Native vote's going to be with what's happening. And again, welcome, Arvina. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it is. It's been a crazy day. And I apologize in advance for any rumbling sounds that we are supposed to be getting some severe thunderstorms and hail. So just a heads up, it's a day that ends in Y. So apparently we are getting weather. But yeah, and Trump making it harder for, his supposed partners in Congress to get elected by canceling the signing ceremony for that bipartisan housing bill that everybody, it's kind of universally agreed upon is that it's a win. And I know that there are a lot of Republican Congress folks out there that were counting on running on that because they need something good to run on, and they haven't had anything. And now, to get back to voting, Trump is saying, he's not going to sign it until that they pass the SAVE Act, that his completely unnecessary, unneeded, and actively harmful piece of legislation that would, among other things, require proof of citizenship when registering to vote and when casting your ballot, which, I don't know how many people carry around, a birth certificate. I don't even know if that would count. But, anybody that doesn't have a passport, this bill could really affect and take away your ability to cast your vote as you are supposed to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to ask you a question too. It has to do with the orange one. And how come it's taken so long for courts to fight back his I want to say laws, but they're not laws, his demands over the years? I know, like the federal judges barring Trump for implementing proof of citizen requirements to vote. That was something he did like in the beginning of his presidency, but I'm glad the courts are catching up. But geez, it seems a lot like it takes a long time.
Yeah. And, I cannot, admit to knowing like everything about the legal process, but I do know that, in order to get up to higher court levels, that it has to start locally. And, these cases then end up having to wind through the legal system, which does work slowly, and so it is likely that a lot of it is just time, and the fact that legal challenges, especially when there are appeals, and they keep going higher up the judicial kind of superior or hierarchy is a better word, that takes time, and I mean, we could also probably add in that maybe some of these things have been voted down, or not voted down, but maybe a judge that was appointed by Trump and feels that fealty to him. Maybe some of those guys have been making decisions, and then that makes it harder for further cases to be brought. There needs to be other, information that needs to be brought, and the strategizing takes a long time too. So deciding what the best case to put forward will be, as in terms of who is or will be, facing damages from that situation. So that takes a while too. It's just a long and arduous process, I think.
Yeah, obviously. Geez. Hey, can you give us an update on Wisconsin? What's happening in Wisconsin? Because we have a lot of people running for governor, for instance, and then the other seats in Wisconsin. What's happening in here? And I think it's kind of a lull here in Minnesota, because we already had our primaries, and now people are going out there, and then we have to figure out what's real and what's not. AI and all this PAC money's coming into Minnesota, and we have candidates like our lieutenant governor who's not taking PAC money, and then there's just these commercials that are just outrageous against her that say she does take PAC money.
I mean, it's wild. It's wild that it is June and these are already starting. I know that personally, I have been. I was taken aback by seeing, I've been seeing Tom Tiffany ads for a couple of weeks, and I get annoyed every time he says, oh, well, it's Madison's fault. Well, who has been in charge in Madison for the longest time and now, holds both houses of the legislature? I mean, you can't blame everything there, because the Republicans, have obstructed or tried to put obstructed good legislation, and have then also refused to put any of the good legislation up for a vote. So that there's that there. I have seen not one commercial, meaning one specific ad that I've seen multiple times. I've seen for candidate Senator Kelda Roys, and her commercial, is pretty standard, but does a good job of explaining who she is and what she supports. She's been around for a while and has a lot of experience, and would be, and I say this again, any one of these Democratic candidates would be like far and away a better choice for Wisconsin than Tom Tiffany, who has been supporting, everything the Orange One says left and right, wants to, to have the Department of Justice punish Lac de Flambeau for closing their roads, trying to get paid for access to the roads that others are accessing. He supports the lawsuit against Lac de Flambeau for closing lakes to fishing from non-tribal members, which they did in order to protect the fish populations in those lakes. And side note for anybody that doesn't know, the tribes in Wisconsin, a lot of them have their own fish hatcheries and restock a very large portion of the fish that are in Wisconsin's waterways. But we did have one candidate, Missy Hughes, did just drop out, and she is supporting Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez was the candidate that won the Wistem's straw poll that happened last weekend at convention. But you know, there's the Democrats in Wisconsin have a really good opportunity to pick up both houses of the state legislature, because first of all, we are under the newer maps that went into effect 2 years ago, the ones that are much fairer than the yay
Exactly.
the ones that have lines that are much fairer than the previous maps that were found not to be legal, and so there are, I mean, the same as at the federal level, there are lots of Assembly Republicans and Senate Republicans that are not running for re-election. I think that they are seeing where the winds are blowing, and they know that it's not going to be in their favor. And we also have, the way Wisconsin elects our state Senate, they have 4-year terms. And I can't remember if it is even or odd, but the odd number districts are either aligned or happen either during midterm years or during presidential years, and then the even numbers are opposite. So we have a bunch of, or half the Senate districts that are for the first time going to be using the new districts, the fairer districts. So this is going to be the first time for half of the state Senate that those district boundaries are going to be in place. And there are the majority of the races in both houses are going to be contested, which is always good. Having two options is good, and it's good for our democracy. It's good to for being able to articulate ideas and everything. And going back to to be reelected, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, that is a really good way to make sure that your legislators are being held accountable by the voters, and having an opponent does that. So a lot of these districts are going to be in areas where Native voters are going to matter. And so, it is imperative for all of us to be sure that we are we have what we need in order to vote. We know if we're registered or not. You can go to myvote.wi.gov to check on your voting status, and find out who represents you at from the local level to the federal, and make sure that you're ready to cast that ballot, whether it's early or whether it is on election day. And remember, you can also register. We have same-day election or same-day registration in Wisconsin. So even if you don't do it before, you can do it when you go vote.
Hey, we are here with our friend Arvina Martin, our political consultant, and we got more to talk about here after this short break. We'll be right back. Native Roots Radio.
Phase 2 of the Track and Signals project for the full Metro Blue Line begins June 29th and requires replacement bus service until August 19th. The Metro Green Line will also need replacement bus service at select stations for several dates of the Blue Line maintenance period. Sign up for rider alerts and learn about replacement bus station locations and dates at metrotransit.org/track-signals. Again, that's metrotransit.org/track-signals.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations. Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovative Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible Indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
We are your relatives,
We are your relations,
brothers,
sisters,
sons.
daughters,
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
Homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, it's Dr. Evan Adams, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. Hey, Victor, you better be listening.
In this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Bear. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Native Roots Radio, and we are here with our friend Arvina Martin, our political consultant right out of Madison, Wisconsin, and we always are happy to converse on what's going on politically and culturally and all over Turtle Island, and especially in Wisconsin, where we have a big audience on civic media, so we appreciate Arvina. Arvina, before we get any further here, talk a little bit how people can get a hold of you, because I know people ask, and you have, I've seen you in action, giving you 101 Native American stuff, but also helping with people with their campaigns. So let's let people know out there what you do and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, I do lots of trainings. I have, as Robert mentioned, a Tribes 101 presentation that teaches about the concept of tribal sovereignty, the importance and how to work with tribal governments, as well as how to organize in a grassroots way in Native communities, whether they're on the reservation or urban or university based or things like that. I have that training. I also can help teach or lead trainings on any aspect of running for office, whether you need help learning how to fundraise, how to put together a door knock plan, your social media, things like that, finding your win number and knowing how many voters you need to talk to in order to make sure that you are getting the votes that you want and need to win an election. I also am available to talk about things relating to running for office as a woman, or being a woman in politics, or being a Native person in politics and running for office as well. If you need an MC, I'm okay on the mic. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Arvina Martin there. So you can find me there and shoot me a message. If there is some kind of training that you would like to run or have done, maybe I can help come up with, the actual presentation. I neglected to mention that I also have a presentation talking about the importance of getting more Native people elected to school boards. So if you are, working in a community where, you run into issues with graduation caps or being able to wear pieces of regalia or beadwork or an eagle feather at graduation, or other things, those are things that school boards can help with, and making sure that we have our voices on these bodies is very important. It doesn't matter if it's a majority Native school district or a non, majority Native district. Our voices are important and needed at every level of governance, tribal governments, state, local, federal, all of it. And we need folks like that are listening right now to consider, what they're going to do, and maybe if you're not happy with candidates, maybe you run yourself next time, and then I'm happy to help with that process.
That's awesome. There's so much to talk about, but I just want to get your opinion on this. I believe the other countries that are here for the World Cup really do kind of understand that Americans are different than the politicians. It seems like they do understand that, and that's good.
Absolutely. I have not yet watched a single second of World Cup soccer yet, but I have watched probably hours of fans from other countries coming to the United States and being in awe of things that we have here, things that happen here. A group, the Scottish team and all of Tartan Army in Boston. I'm really jealous that we don't have a team training here in Wisconsin or in Chicago, because I'm also thinking of Lawrence, Kansas's support for Team Algeria. And these folks that are coming here, these World Cup fans are seeing how we are as Americans, and it's a complete 180 from how the orange one acts. From fans that are in a grocery store and looking for what American snacks they should bring home. Someone is always ready to jump in and tell them, helping them get rides or, access to wherever they need to go. And it's really warmed my heart. It's really been lovely to see. And I also want to say, watching all of the teams coming in their arrival outfits. I mean, the teams from Africa have been incredible. I know the Democratic Republic of Congo has what looks like, they're all wearing something that looks kind of like an animal skin, I think like a leopard or something, across their shoulders, and carrying these bags that are the same pattern, like kind of fur. And they look like shields, and they're amazing. It makes me really happy, this, and it does make me feel better about my fellow citizens, and we all need that right now.
Absolutely. Excellent. Especially, and me as a big baseball fan, and I'm really disgusted what happened with the San Francisco Giants players. And that's something maybe next week we can touch base on, because it's still a hot topic with these ball players revolting against the Pride Day and writing things on their cap. It's just really disappointing, because I really like baseball, but it seems like, it's a different class of people now playing Major League Baseball. It isn't people coming out of, this inner city with all the inner city other people. And, it's really disappointing me. I just got to say that.
I agree. And in San Francisco, of all places,
yes.
How wild is that? I do believe I saw something that kind of ranked the political affiliations of professional sports leagues, and it would surprise nobody to find out that the WNBA is the most blue league, and I believe that the major. Woohoo! And I believe that the only league more conservative than Major League Baseball is the NHL. So, it tends, and these are players that are interacting with their teammates that are from different countries, and are maybe don't or speak different languages. And they're completely forgetting that about the humanity of their teammates, and their people like their teammates, and that is really sad. And
Well, read the state or the city that you represent, and let's use some common sense. And I know just recently today, and we're ending the show here in less than 30 seconds, that their president Parker Posey, who used to play as catcher for the Giants,
Parker Posey.
Oh no, it's something like that. I'll send it to you. But he was the catcher for him, and he's the president now, and he just said no comment. So
oh dear,
that tells you a lot. Arvina, thank you so much as always for being on and your insight, what's going on, and great update. I'd like to know what's happening with our neighbors in Wisconsin, other than the Packers, but I didn't say that. Oh,
and we'll miss you, Giannis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that too next week.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Thanks again, Arvina and Barb Fabre and producer Misko. So thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a